gameplay and some more insight into the NFL. We're going to go ahead and talk about a big trade that happened yesterday that impacts the NFL draft, a rescinded franchise tag that affects the entire NFL, and how that impacts the NFL draft as we go forward, and we'll talk more along the topics of what happens at number 3 now. So for anyone who's been watching the news, watching ESPN, the Philadelphia Eagles have traded a substantial amount to move up to the second overall pick with the Cleveland Browns. I had talked about this as being a possibility, Cleveland moving out of the pick, along with the possibility of San Diego moving out of the pick as well. I did, in my last video, mention that I thought it would be wise for Cleveland to stand pat and take Tunsil so that they could solidify their offensive line. But dropping to 8, as you'll see in my mock draft when it goes up Monday, is still a possibility because with Joe Thomas in the lineup, they can draft tackle for the right tackle position. And then, of course, the scouts who say that there are more than one left tackle in this draft. I am not led to believe that that is true, but I'm sure Cleveland will do what they want at 8. But the pick consists of Philadelphia going 3 years deep in picks. This year's first, their third, their fourth, next year's first, and 2018's second. Because Philly didn't have a second this year. And it was one of the key points I said to why Philadelphia is not going to be able to get up there. But kudos to them for being able to go up an additional, or go back an additional year. I think this is one of the first times I've seen where teams went this far into the future to come up. I watched the GM interview after the trade was done. Sam Bradford is still Philadelphia's starting quarterback. That was the assumption going in, if Philly could ever pull off the trade, that Sam Bradford would still be the number 1 this year. I think everyone's kind of overblowing the fact that they're going to have 3 quarterbacks on their roster with so much money put into it. Sam Bradford's contract basically is 1 year at this point, making Chase Daniels and what will be Carson Wentz when the draft is done the only 2 quarterbacks on the roster after next year. So going into this 2017 season, Carson Wentz will be competing with Chase Daniels for the starting position, and then Chase Daniels is on the roster for that whole year, and then has 1 year left on his contract. So the money's going to be gone anyways. Plus, I mean, there's already been a lot of talk about this bet from draft analysts, from NFL analysts, that Bradford's value could go up. You know, a team could come calling, and be like, well, listen, we need a quarterback. We've got some value that we could give you, If you're Denver and you're really feeling like this is not the quarterback situation you want to go in with, you don't want to go in with Sam Bradford either, but, someone's going to suggest it. It might as well be me, that Denver could move on Sam Bradford now if they offered enough to Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, being that they signed Chase Daniels to compete and possibly at some point play, they're going to they're going to listen if the value's right for it. But how does that impact the draft? Well, I had mentioned that I'm pretty sure the quarterbacks are going to go up at the top somewhere. I don't think either one of them are worth it. Even as future quarterbacks for teams that can develop them. These guys are quarterbacks. If you're moving all the way up here to get a quarterback because he's going to be the face of your franchise, and I mean, at the highest I've seen, I saw one scout have them in their top, one of them in their top 5. I believe it was Goff. No, it was Wentz. Wentz was in Bucky Brooks' top 5 of the NFL prospect list. Other than that, there hasn't been a single scout that has him in the top 5. And, you know, we're talking about St. Louis moving up from, what was it, like 15? To come up to the number 1 spot. And Philadelphia moving up from 8, which, you know, people are saying, well, they didn't really move up from 8. They moved up from 13, but they made this awesome trade with Miami, and now, well, okay, yes, you got picks in that trade with Miami, but guess what? You have to fill those holes. And believe it or not, you trading away the picks to get up to the first overall pick does not fill all the holes you just made. So, you know, the Phillies in an interesting position. Cleveland makes out huge here because they got some picks to work with. They need a lot of position to improve upon. If they're as happy with Terrell Pryor's development as the reportings are making it sound, they could probably get away with sneaking out of the first round without a receiver. So I'm thinking if they stay at 8, which there's still reports that they may trade back again, because they could probably still get more picks and even be more of a threat in the second and third round, which is, again, where this draft is heavy, is the second and third rounds.
Here's a chance to attack.
You would think this team can play that
sustained attacking football,
you know, that's an option, but they could stand pat, take an opportunity. There's 3 offensive linemen that are worth 3 offensive tackles that are, in my opinion, good. Again, I said there's one blue chipper in Tunsil. Tunsil is now the first overall pick again, but it's just happening at the 3rd pick because these 2 quarterbacks have kind of just restart the draft at this point. So Tunsil goes 3 to whoever picks there. Right now it looks like San Diego might be standing pat. Although if they were going to get some kind of king's ransom like Cleveland did, I can't see them wanting to stay pat.
It's looking good, this move.
So, you know, Tunsil goes. Tunsil's the 3rd person off the board. Tunsil is now the new first position player, not a quarterback, off the board for whoever drafts him. And I mean, we're talking about a day, and I think I've heard Paxton Lynch's name more than I've ever wanted to hear his name, and that says a lot because I didn't really want to hear his name to begin with, because everyone wants to put a lot of hype on him. It's a huge hype machine, but guess who has to come to the first round now? According to anyone watching TV right now, Paxton Lynch has to be in the first round. Okay, well, I don't think Cleveland is going to go ahead and break anyone's hearts by skipping over them at 8. I think they have a really good situation, honestly, because I didn't know that they had 4 quarterbacks in camp. I said there was only 3. I said I saw Connor Shaw, but they also have that Austin kid in there too in camp. So you have 4 quarterbacks. You're going to have 3 on your roster. RG3 and Josh McCown are going to be the guys competing for the starting job. You know, RG3's getting a lot of praise for how well he's looked so far. No pads on, but he's shown a lot of leadership. I think getting him out of Washington was probably the best thing that could ever happen to him as a person. So I think Cleveland's in a good spot here. Now, they're even in a better spot because of all these draft picks. These draft picks are gonna, if they're not in love with RG3 or Josh McCown after this season, which Josh McCown, good God, he's at like 36 already.
What is the referee going to do here?
37 maybe. you know, you got to consider the fact that they might draft a quarterback later on, but they'll have the ammo to do it with these picks, and it really leads to, you know, someone who's just looking at it from the outside. This is a really plausible idea that they move back again, because again, this year's draft is so second and third round heavy that, you know, teams wanting to move up for one piece understand that if they move up for one piece, they're not getting any other pieces, but a team that's getting to trade out of the position is going to get all your 80s and your B overall guys, you know, for position ranks and whatnot. So, you know, I can see Cleveland moving out again. Who to? That's really crazy, because if everyone stood still, which I don't, again, in my first mock draft video, I said that there was going to be 6 or 7 trades in the first round. 2 of them already happened, because I'm only counting the 2 that have happened since the since I made the draft, my first one. So I'm not going to count the fact that obviously there was picks traded for Philly to move up. It didn't really impact the first. Well, it did impact the first round, but still. So who's interested? Well, if everyone stood still, I would think the Jets would be the most likely. I don't think San Fran. No, I do not think San Fran. That's crazy, Tom. San Fran with draft 1, 2, 3. Yeah, San Fran is going to have a chance at one of the blue chip guys. I've been bringing up this blue chip thing, and if you're not listening to me and you're listening to the scouts, the guys that are getting paid for it, there is other players who fit into that, but I think there's 5. But scouts have Joey Bosa on that list too. I'm sure some of them think. I heard Mel Kiper say on TV yesterday that Jack Conklin might be the best player in this draft. Now, Mel Kiper's been doing this for a long time, so he's either gone senile or he sees something. You know, a lot of mocks have had Jack Conklin going to Detroit. Mel thinks he can play left. I would. Okay, I think him and Riley Reif are basically the same guy when it comes to that. So why make Jack Conklin your first overall pick if you're going to make him left tackle if you've already got Jack Conklin playing left tackle in Riley Reif? You know, Stanley's got a better chance of playing left tackle to me, but I think where he plays left tackle and does all right, he's a Pro Bowl right tackle. You know, because and here's the thing, guys, is the left tackle's important to the NFL because quarterbacks are right-handed. That's, you know, if the majority of quarterbacks in the NFL were left-handed, the right tackle would be the more important of the 2 tackles. Would be the cornerstone of the offensive line. But that's not how it works. And yeah, they're going to tell me that one is more based around finesse role, and the other one is based around a grinding role and stuff like that. But that's one of them is also the blind side of the quarterback. The other one is not, and that's the left tackle. If you have a left-handed quarterback, it's different, and it screws up with everyone else's philosophies, and that's just it's the reason why left-handed quarterbacks aren't in the league that much. You know? Conspiracy theory, I understand that not as many people are left-handed as they are right-handed, but look at the success rate of quarterbacks that try to come out that are left-handed that just don't even get as much of a shake as some of these other quarterbacks. And this comes back to me in my Tim Tebow argument that I had the other day. Tim Tebow, left-handed quarterback, isn't even in the league.
First half, a lot of the raw passion you expect from the Scottish Cup.
But Mark Sanchez gets a starting job.
And we'll see what the second half brings in this quest to get into the semi-final.
And it's kind of ironic that Mark Sanchez gets a starting job as a shitty quarterback in Denver, where Tim Tebow was ousted because Denver wanted Peyton Manning. Hey, guess what? Denver. Tim Tebow could have got the same number of stats this year as Peyton Manning. That's a guarantee. You wouldn't have been paying him $18 million. You would have been able to get some other players. Redmond. And, you know, maybe you would have got Von Miller paid so he would show up to camp this year. But, again, just a left-handed guy trying to stick up for the rest of the left-handed guys. So New York is the team that seems to be on watch right now, or will be on watch when Cleveland's coming up. Are they going to make the move? I don't think New York can make the move before the draft. Offside. Although they should. Realistically, think about it, they should, because New York should be calling everyone between Cleveland, between Philadelphia and Cleveland, and being like, hey, are you really looking at a quarterback? San Fran's going to, you know, they might be, especially if they think they can get Kaepernick moved, but when you look at who they have to draft in the first round, why would they move up? Paxton Lynch, guys, there's not a scout here. I mean, there are scouts. Mel Kiper's high on him. Todd McShay says he's a good athlete, but he's not ready. He's 3 years away from playing in the NFL. 3 years away from playing in the NFL. That's a quote from Todd McShay. And the cross comes in now. 3 years from playing in the NFL, and you draft him in the first round. The defender got there first, though. That's insane. That is insane. Yes, you need a quarterback in the NFL. You do. That's a fact. But go down. Look at the rosters right now. LA is going to get a quarterback, but they have 2 on the roster that started for them last year. One of them has started for another franchise. Was a Pro Bowl player. And, you know, you should be able to access that abilities again with that player. But they're gonna walk away from him sooner than later. Sam Bradford is an injured person most of the time, but he had a lot of hype coming into the league. An injury was a big deal, but when he's on the field, the guy plays well. No, San Diego's got Phillip Rivers. Dallas has got Tony Romo, and both aging quarterbacks. But you don't take your heir apparent in the first round when you don't. Cooper. If Tony Romo needs, or if Tony Romo says he's going to play a couple more years, and Paxton Lynch needs a couple more years, fine. You can take Paxton Lynch at that point. But the rate that Tony Romo is getting hurt now, he's not going to be able to make it that long. So you're putting the quarterback that you're picking in the lineup. It's not worth it. Jacksonville's got their quarterback. Baltimore's got their quarterback. San Francisco, again, Colin Kaepernick's on the roster. They could move him, but you're not putting Paxton Lynch in the starting lineup. So you're not drafting him at that position. Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland needs to draft a quarterback early at all. Cleveland can go to the 4th, 5th round. That guy that I was talking about yesterday from Liberty, that we have scouts that are high on, okay, that's an opportunity to take him. He might be able to beat out Connor Shaw and Austin to make the roster, or be on the scout team or something like that. You know, who knows? Tampa Bay, New York, Chicago could, but again, Chicago can't do it in the first round. If Chicago does it in the first round, they have to get rid of Jay Cutler. Because they're admitting to a building period. That's the thing about taking Paxton Lynch in the first round, is there's no way that's the only position you needed help in for any of these teams, for any team in the NFL. There's no way. Every single team in the NFL has got multiple needs at multiple positions. So if you take Paxton Lynch in the first round, you are saying we are beginning a rebuilding process. And that's what you're telling your fans. And that's a fan talking about it. So you don't, you know, when Detroit drafted Matt Stafford, they were like, well, Matt Stafford's likely going to be the starting quarterback. You know, okay, well, I'm going to expect some pain for a couple of years then. and it's been pain. There hasn't been a whole lot of great. I mean, Matt's a great player, but there hasn't been a whole lot of highlights as far as the team goes. We've been to the playoff one time. We haven't had no success in the playoffs. We've lost our culture as a team because we used to be able to. You used to be able to peg us in for, at least having a running threat, and now, all we are now is a pass team. So anyways, well, I mean, you can go all the way down to the Jets and say, okay, every one of these teams either has a quarterback in place, a quarterback they're about to draft that's in place, and the teams with the aging quarterbacks are not wasting a first-round pick. I'm picking the heir apparent, because most of the aging quarterbacks are on teams that could pull something off. That they got to play the games to figure out if they're going to make the playoffs or not. And by the time they're playing games, Paxton Lynch is going to matter. So, when you get to the Jets, Ryan Fitzpatrick's still unsigned. Wouldn't it just make it a lot easier for everyone if Ryan Fitzpatrick got signed somewhere else? Good grief. I mean, if Hoyer visited for a couple days, he's going to Denver to get a look to see what's going on.
Well, he could go for goal from here.
I mean, though, Hoyer and Sanchez as your two quarterbacks in Denver doesn't make a lick of sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Again, just going off what the scout said, and I agree with it. That's why I say that. That's why I am just using quotes, is because for most of the quotes I agree with. Brian Hoyer is a less athletic Mark Sanchez. So why put both of them on your roster? Especially when you could have Colin Kaepernick if you can pull the trade off. Come on. And after what you've seen in the first two picks, you're not getting a quarterback in this draft that you can consider your franchise unless you think that you can go deeper in the draft than anyone else. Unless you think Connor Cook is your savior, which, before the college football season started last year, there's a lot of people saying Connor Cook had a chance at first-round pick. Matt Berger, same thing. These two guys are going to be not first-round picks, second, third, fourth-round picks. But, could have the talent. So maybe that's how they do it, But again, that still doesn't lead to Paxton Lynch being in the first round. But,
we've got 8 more minutes.
So, I mean, what happens there? Well, I've never seen a scenario where we go 20-some picks without seeing a quarterback drafted. The Aaron Rodgers thing was kind of weird. I don't know. I just don't foresee an NFL team not making the same goof that I'm talking about and drafting a quarterback that needs 3 years to be ready in the first round. Someone's going to make the mistake. If not, kudos to the NFL and kudos to the scouts for all of them to be able to recognize that there's just no hope for that being a year 1 play or year 2 play.
This could be a chance. Shots on here. What a fine save. Goalkeeper can only parry it out.
So, anyways, that's. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of in awe of myself right there because it just seems like it's such an obvious thing, and the fact that I have to talk about it kind of hurts my head. But there's some more big news in the NFL. I was really I was looking today to make this video about the NBA and NHL playoffs, and I just think until the draft happens and I get a draft review out for after Thursday and post my mock, I think that the NFL is probably going to be the focus for the next couple of videos. And here's another story. Josh Norman. I hadn't heard the word rescinded before. Carolina used it yesterday to tell everyone that Josh Norman could be a free agent again. Or be a free agent. one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now. And Stephen A. Smith was quoted as saying when he talked to him, Josh Norman never wanted to leave, that this has to be a fault of his agent. But here we are, staring down the barrel of Josh Norman leaving Carolina and leaving a huge hole in their defense. Carolina's management has made the point that they are comfortable with drafting corners that are just athletic, because they feel like their front seven is strong. Okay, well, kudos to you for thinking that. That's great. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay a corner some money. Like, I guess you could just keep drafting corners and then let them play out the rookie contracts, and then just draft more corners, and then bring in middle of the road free agents. But I don't know if you can maintain a championship team doing that, because eventually you're going to need a little bit of help on the back end. But that's Carolina's decision. I can't make that for them. I saw another article today too that this gives Cam Newton another excuse. Now, I don't necessarily know what the author of this article is talking about. Is if Cam Newton is like making excuses for their Super Bowl loss and stuff, you know, you got to tell whoever's writing that article. Sometimes maybe it's best you just not talk, because guys, they went 15-1. Cam Newton did a lot of the heavy lifting for them. Like, if he gets to the Super Bowl and has a bad game, and then gives you a reason to why he had a bad game, it's not an excuse. Come on, like that's not fair to NFL's talent. Cam Newton should not be ashamed of how the year went. He didn't win the Super Bowl, guy. That's cool. That happens. I mean, there has to be a loser every year in the Super Bowl. And you had a better year than Denver, but unfortunately this year too, you know. And Denver's not going back, so. No matter who the quarterback is, Denver's not going back. So it's, you know, but you guys could, if you can fill this new hole that Josh Norman's exit makes. So Norman was offered 13 or $14 million as part of the franchise tag. Apparently there were $5 million apart on him getting signed. So either he's looking for